Today I'm going to be doing some work on my brakes. I've got new brake lines to go on, so replace all the brake lines you can see with braided brake lines. I'm going to remove the calipers, give them a good clean, replace the brake pads. As you know, brake lines should be changed every 4 years. These ones have never been changed. The bike's now 8 years old, so we're doing that and replacing them with braided brake lines. Obviously changing all the fluid, but first of all I'm going to remove the brake calipers and change all the brake pads. So that'll be the first video, and then I'll do a second video on the brake lines and replacing the fluid and bleeding the brakes. This is obviously where the skylift comes in handy. You can get your brakes up to a really good height to work on. Really handy. I haven't done a review of that yet, but when I do, I'll put it on and I'll put a link in the top of this. So while your caliper's still attached to the bike, it's a lot easier. Just crack open the pins that hold the brakes in. Otherwise you're going to be doing it in your hands. It's a lot easier to do while I'm on the bike. Now obviously, because I'm going to be changing my brake lines, I'm actually going to remove the brake lines at this point. Obviously once I do this I need to protect everything. You don't want to get brake fluid over everything. I'll put in a little bag with a cable tie just to make sure they're not dripping. If you're just cleaning your brakes, and changing the pads, you probably won't need to do this, but it's going to make my life easier, and then I can do it on the bench. I've got some blue roll ready. That's going to drip a little bit. I've released the pressure already. You never know. So it's just a 12mm spanner. Trying to do brake lines. Obviously, if you do this, you'd have to bleed them at some point. So I'm going to put them, there you go, they're dripping already. I'm going to put them in a bag and cable tie. Just like that, just so it don't drip everywhere. Also got a little bit coming out the back of the brake caliper. Quite nasty stuff, brake fluid, but you don't really want to get it everywhere. Then you just want to undo these bolts that hold the brakes out of the way on your calipers. You can see we're getting some fluid coming through there now, so good idea to put it in a bag. And we'll just undo these. Cool. They are really tight. Right, they are a bit tight, so let's do a little bit more leverage on this one. Even when you've got a bit of leverage on it. And then that just slips off like that. Easy. Well, once you've got the caliper on the bench, just undo the retaining pins to the end of the thread. Just like that. And then they should just pull out. Yeah, and the brake pads just fall straight out the bottom. Pull out the metal clips, again, they'll just come out, just float in there. And the pads straight out the bottom. So if you look at these pads, well, needed doing, not much left on them at all. Not quite through the wear line. You can see your wear line there, but not far off it. So definitely need doing. Right, now they're out. Good clean. So I've just got some brake cleaner. £5 I think it was off Amazon. Nothing special. Give them a bit of a spray. Clean. Just while you do this, mind you don't knock these pistons out. They can cause you some aggro to get them back in. Of course, give them a good clean, but don't actually knock them out. You can give the pins a good clean up as well. They're all covered in crap. Any caliper bolts as well, why not? Right, once you're happy that that's all nice and clean as it is, new brake pads in. Just dry it off. I went for these brake pads, ABCs, and these are the double sintered brake pads. Bit more stopping power than the standard ones. So you can just see the difference between the new ones and the old ones. Obviously, there's quite a lot in them. It's hard in if you want. Got a bit of difference. Obviously, because there's quite a lot of dings on them, I've pushed the pistons back in. And when you do that on the bench, you obviously get a lot of fluid come out. Not so much of an issue on the bike, but here you get a lot of fluid coming out. So it's basically just reverse. So yeah, drop the pads through, drop the clip on because that will hold them apart, and then put your retaining clip back through the hole. It could be a little bit fiddly. Just do the retaining clip back up. And they're sat in there. See that? They're sat in there quite nicely. Then just repeat the process with the other side. So put the retaining clip in. As I say, it'll only go in one way, it won't fit in that way, it has to go in that way. Turn it over, drop your pads in. Drop that pad in first. And line that up with your retaining pin. You don't put that too far through because you won't be able to get you. Quite difficult to see really. Drop the other one in. And then do your retaining clip up. And just do the pin up. I have got a torque setting for them. So the torque setting for the pad pins is 17.2 Newton meters. I'll do that when on the bike, it's going to be a lot easier to torque it up on there. So that's it, that's done. Just need to put it back on the bike. Right, so to put it back on the bike, obviously I've already opened them up. You can see there's no decent gap, so you want to get them either side of your brake discs to there. You can put your caliper, retaining bolts back in. Very straightforward. Very important to torque them up. So the caliper bolts will torquing to 34 Newton meters. So you get the torque rate set on that. That's that. Right, so that's that. All done. Look a lot better, a lot cleaner. You can see your pads in there as well. Obviously, before you use the bike, you'd have to pump your brakes to get the pads to touch the discs. I can't do that at the minute because I've got no brake lines on it. But you have to do that before you move. So that's that. Not a difficult job, a bit fiddly. Not a job anyone can do in a garage really. So thanks for watching, please subscribe, and the next one coming up very soon will be the brake lines. Thank you very much.